A dramatic sight at La Jolla Cove. Rain, wind, and heavy surf pummel San Diego as a winter storm blows through the region. I'm Susan Murphy. The story is just ahead on KPBS Evening Edition. Also, the FBI is looking into a fire at a Southern California mosque. It happened right before Friday prayers.
It's worse being alive than it would be not being around anymore.
We conclude our series on California's new right to die law, talking with a woman who plans to take advantage of it.
The water had a high uranium, but that it was okay. That it was okay to drink, that you didn't have to boil it, but it also said that if you drink it over a long period of time, you might get cancer.
And there are worries about what's in the water in California's Central Valley. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this rainy Friday. Gusty winds, scattered showers, and mountain snow hit parts of San Diego County today. A high wind warning is in effect for our mountain regions through 10 o'clock tonight. Coastal flooding is also possible through Sunday due to 7-foot tides and very large surf. For the second time this week, huge waves are walloping the San Diego coastline. Onlookers gathered at Children's Pool in La Jolla to watch the massive breakers as high as 15 feet crash over the seawall. Leticia DeSantis, visiting with her family from El Paso, Texas, describes the waves as breathtaking.
It's like seeing a calendar picture, and we're here for it.
That was huge, Mom!
That was a huge one.
Her 8-year-old daughter, Gabriela Montoya, says they're the biggest waves she's ever seen.
I think almost like taller than my mom. I think it came all the way up to here.
Orlando Dominguez from Florida is hoping to capture the ocean's power on his camera.
They just keep pounding, the seawall. It's just like relentless. It's just one after another. So for us wanting to take pictures, you really don't have to wait very long.
The pounding surf was amplified as it crashed against the steep sandstone cliffs.
Okay, there's a good set coming right there, James.
Denise Ivisovic, who has lived in San Diego County most of her life, says she's never seen anything like it.
I think these waves today are the biggest I've ever seen, and it's been really exciting. I'm glad we came down to watch them.
Here, the sea lions were the only ones swimming in the water. But down the shore, some brave body surfers were sizing up the treacherous conditions. Lifeguards are warning people who are not experienced swimmers and surfers to stay out of the ocean. A high surf warning is in effect for beaches south of Carlsbad through Sunday, and there's an ocean pollution warning for the coast near the border because of sewage flowing out of Baja California. The ski resorts in Big Bear are celebrating the snow coming in with the storm. This video was recorded earlier today by a webcam at Bear Mountain. The Weather Service says up to 3 inches may fall in the San Bernardino Mountains today and up to another 4 inches overnight. Even with all that snow, it's still looking like a typical drought year in California. Numbers recorded earlier today show rainfall and snowpack have been slowly increasing since October, but this year is still coming up drier than 2014. Climate scientists say they expect El Nino may increase those numbers in the coming months. For more information, visit our Drought Tracker tool on kpbs.org/drought tracker. Del Mar Shore residents had a rare and sad sight today, a dead California gray whale. KPBS reporter Matt Bowler went up to Solana Beach shoreline and now joins us from the newsroom.
Today's storm brought more than rain. This morning at about 7:30, Solana Beach lifeguards were called about a whale on the beach at Del Mar Shores. The body of a 15 to 20 foot long juvenile California gray whale washed ashore in advance of the storm. Authorities say the whale was not beached but died at sea a few days ago and just drifted to land. Solana Beach lifeguard Lieutenant Jason Shook says the responsible way of dealing with the remains is to take it to a landfill.
Well, if we towed it back out to sea, it would just drift in somewhere else and be someone else's problem.
Shook has been a lifeguard for more than 20 years, and he says this is the first whale to wash ashore at this beach in the last decade. Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
FBI dive teams were back at a small lake in San Bernardino today. They're searching for evidence in last week's shooting that killed 14 people. The FBI says the shooters had been in the area the day of the attack. Agents haven't officially said what they're looking for, but the Riverside Press Enterprise reports they're in search of a computer hard drive that may have been dumped into the lake. The paper says an object was pulled from the lake today and handed off to an official. The FBI is helping to investigate a fire at a mosque in Coachella today. It happened before today's regular Friday prayers. The leader of the mosque says witnesses believe it was intentionally set. They described hearing a loud boom and then seeing flames in the lobby. The Islamic Center of Palm Springs is about 75 miles east of San Bernardino, and it's been targeted before. Last year, it was hit by gunfire. No one was hurt in either incident. Prison officials are investigating a massive brawl at the Donovan Correctional Facility in Otay Mesa. The fight erupted yesterday near a workout yard at the Otay Mesa State Prison. More than 130 inmates were involved, and nearly 60 officers responded to the incident. Several inmates suffered minor injuries, and 3 received attention outside the facility. No prison employees were injured. Congress has passed a spending bill to avoid a government shutdown at least through next Wednesday. President Barack Obama says he will sign the measure. It gives the White House and lawmakers more time to negotiate on a $1.1 trillion spending bill for 2016. There's never been a confirmed U.S. collision between a drone and a manned aircraft, but a new report says there's a growing number of close calls near airports. Researchers at Bard College counted 14 of those near collisions here in San Diego, and they say there were 39 near Los Angeles International Airport. The FAA defines a near collision as 2 aircraft flying within 500 feet of each other. The college study covers a period from December 2013 to last September. Crime scene investigators are used to finding clues in biological evidence like DNA or fingerprints. In a new study, San Diego scientists say investigators should also look at microbes. KPBS science reporter David Wagner explains.
This study focuses on so-called decomposer microbes. These are bacteria that are always present in your body and in the environment at low levels. When you die, they take over and they start turning your body into fertilizer. Researchers found that this process unfolds in a very predictable way, and they say that analyzing decomposer microbes could reveal when somebody died, within a 2 to 4 day window of accuracy. Microbes could also provide clues about where someone died and whether or not their body was moved after death. UC San Diego's Rob Knight co-led the study. He thinks forensic scientists will be using microbial DNA sequencing at crime scenes in the near future.
There's a very real possibility that the next generation of forensics will be based not just on human DNA, where we're all 99.99% the same anyway, but on our microbial DNA, where we can be 90% different from one another.
This study involved outdoor decomposition experiments on human cadavers that were donated by people who wanted their bodies used in forensic research. David Wagner, KPBS News.
Today, Mexico granted its first permits to grow and possess marijuana for personal use. The government says the permits apply only to 4 plaintiffs who won a Supreme Court ruling last month. The Mexican court said growing and using pot was covered under the right of free development of personality. Since the ruling, dozens of people have filed appeals for permits, although polls show a majority of Mexicans don't want legalization. Beginning next year, Californians with terminal illness will be allowed to get a lethal dose of drugs from a doctor. In other states that have such a law, more people have requested the drugs than have actually taken them. In this final part of our three-part series, KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg talks with a woman who's determined to end her life before her illness renders her helpless.
Yurika Strato is trying to check off everything on her bucket list.
There we go.
Strato and her wife Juanita spend as much time as they can camping at Silver Strand Beach in Coronado. Last year, they traveled all over the U.S. and drove up to Vancouver.
We took a week-long cruise up to Alaska, came back, we went to watch the FIFA Women's Soccer Final, You Go USA. That was fantastic, you know. Let me just lift up first.
Strato has amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. She can no longer walk, and she's losing the ability to use her hands.
Okay, watch my leg there.
Oh, yeah. She's only 53 years old.
There we go.
Nonetheless, Strato isn't sitting around saying, "Woe is me."
Yep. I've always been a proactive, active person. I don't see the point in saying, "Woe is me," because it's not going to change anything. It's just going to make me and the people around me miserable. Put that little lever.
ALS is destroying Strato.
That's it.
Doctors have given her less than 6 months to live. She's decided she doesn't want to end up on feeding tubes, unable to take care of herself.
Because I don't have to suffer like a lot of other people have had to. I can say now and say, I'm done. You know, I've had a great life. I've been a very fortunate person, but I don't want to do this anymore. It's worse being alive than it would be not being around anymore.
We'll do whatever it takes to make you comfortable. And
Strato has told her doctor that sometime next year she wants to take advantage of California's new aid in dying law.
And you know, it's not easy.
No.
Her physician, Sunita Shailam, has agreed to give Strato a prescription for a lethal dose of drugs.
It's not for everyone. It's for people who have a terminal illness with a life expectancy less than 6 months. And anything that can preserve their dignity and prevent any suffering is important.
Strato's wife, Juanita, says she's fully supportive of her partner's decision to end her life before the disease takes total control.
And that's not because I don't want her to be around anymore. It's because I don't want her to have to deal with her body dying and have no ability to do anything about it and choke to death someday.
Because I know it'll be a big part of what people will be asking me about.
Caroline Boaz is an advanced practice nurse who specializes in palliative and hospice care at Sharp Chula Vista Hospital. It's her job to coordinate a dying patient's care and make sure that their physical and emotional pain are treated properly. Boaz says with the right kind of care, most dying patients shouldn't feel the need to take their own life. But
some people don't want to suffer through seizures and some of the things that can happen at the end of life. And I completely understand that, and I think it's wonderful that people will have a choice.
Yurika Strato says to be sure she doesn't want to die.
I'm a little scared, but where this disease is going to take me, if I have to live through it, scares me far more than death does, you know, because, oy.
Strato doesn't know exactly when she'll decide to end it all. Until then, she's just happy to spend time with Juanita, going down her bucket list. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
KPBS video journalist Katie Shulov helped produce this series. You can find all 3 parts online at kpbs.org.
A new study says the ideal site for a new regional airport is on Camp Pendleton. A pedestrian bridge makes it easier to get cheaper flights from Tijuana. And some people think San Diego will become the new Silicon Valley. Join us for news of a brave new world on the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30 here on KPBS.
Uranium is the stuff of nuclear fuel for power plants and atom bombs, but it's increasingly showing up in drinking water systems in major farming regions across the West, including in California. Tracy Brown of the Associated Press reports it's a natural, though unexpected, byproduct of irrigation, drought, and overpumping.
California's Central Valley. 1/4 of the nation's food is grown here. The state's record-breaking drought has been tough on farmers and families. But there's growing concern not just about the water, but what's in it.
It said that the water had a high uranium, but that it was okay. That it was okay to drink, that you didn't have to boil it. But it also said that if you drink it over a long period of time, you might get cancer.
Recent studies by the U.S. Geological Survey found increasingly dangerous levels of uranium in the groundwater of the Central Valley, the same radioactive and toxic element used for nuclear fuel and atom bombs.
For here is the raw material of atomic energy.
Uranium is naturally present in the Central Valley soil, but intensive irrigation and the drought are making the problem worse. When plants are watered, it creates the chemical conditions that release uranium from the soil and into the water. As more groundwater is pumped for cities, homes and farms, it pulls the tainted water into wells.
Well, this has been sort of a decades-long process that has occurred, so we expect that it's going to take many decades to reverse this.
A 10-month-long Associated Press investigation found that California state and local governments have spent at least $16.7 million since 2010 to deal with the public water systems contaminated with uranium levels above the health safety limit.
This is our uranium removal system.
This elementary school near Modesto installed a treatment system to remove uranium after the water tested 4 times the safety levels.
If they are living in this area, that is a possibility. If they're on well, that is a possibility that they have better drinking water here at school than what they have at home.
That's because private wells, which hundreds of thousands of Californians rely on, are completely unregulated for the growing uranium problem.
This is the well.
The U.S. Geological Survey found 1 out of 4 private wells in the area had high levels, compared to 1 in 10 public wells.
The yellow symbols are the high concentrations of uranium. People don't know because uranium is not one of the standard things people analyze when they have their wells tested.
The AP tested 5 randomly picked homes with private wells in Modesto. 2 of the wells tested for high uranium.
I guess we started to learn to live with it because there's not much we could do. So.
Scientists have long determined consuming water with uranium poses cancer and kidney risks. But studies underway suggest uranium can also cause birth defects, autoimmune diseases, and heart issues.
And so we should not have any doubt that as to whether drinking water with uranium in it is a problem or not. It is. The larger the population that's drinking this water, then the more people who are going to be affected.
Even though families at this mobile home park outside Fresno have received warnings, with no immediate solution at hand, they carry on as usual, drinking, cooking and bathing with the water.
They really don't explain as much.
But as dangerous uranium levels grow throughout the Central Valley, so do the health risks to those living there. Tracy Brown, Associated Press.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, we sit down with Britain's defense minister as they step up their fight against ISIS in Syria. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
Brick and mortar bookstores have been having a tough time in the face of online competition, but comic book stores seem to be thriving. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando looks at how comic book stores are successfully connecting with consumers.
With the overwhelming popularity of comic book movies and franchises,
that just happened.
It's easy to forget that in the 1950s, comic books were being linked to juvenile delinquency with attempts to ban them.
Horror and crime comics upset kids. I'm not talking about any subtle distortion of their emotional makeup. I think that occurs too. But there's a more noticeable, immediate effect. You can see the tension develop as the story gets more gruesome. And if it's a bad one, the kid has a mass of jangled nerves by the time he's through it.
But comics survived Senate committee hearings and the Comics Code Authority to become a lucrative part of pop culture, especially here in San Diego, where we have Comic-Con International promoting an awareness of and appreciation for comics each summer. Recently, Liberty Station was the location of choice for IDW Publishing to open its offices and its comic art gallery. Now, Kamikaze has moved in across the courtyard. TJ Shevlin, manager at the IDW Comic Art Gallery, is pleased with his new neighbors.
It says that brick-and-mortar comic shops are never going to go away. Comic book stores are a really kind of special entity. Comic book stores don't sell anything that you need. Relatively speaking, they sell the things that you want.
We have a specialized product that has a fan base that's highly motivated to seek it out, so that helps. It also comes out on a regular basis. We have new issues every week.
Robert Scott just celebrated his 24th year at Kamikaze in Claremont and felt the timing was right to expand.
We've been fairly stable for a while, and we share a lot of customers with this area. So we thought with the addition of IDW and the San Diego Comic Art Museum, a location in the Liberty Station Arts and Culture District would be a perfect way for us to be able to reach out. Both to current customers and new customers. We kind of set this up to be more, appeal more to a bookstore clientele than necessarily a comic book store clientele.
The new location has a larger kids' corner and a greater focus on books and novels. As with the Claremont store, Scott plans to continue doing events like book signings, as well as adding monthly film screenings as a means of reaching out into the community.
I've been looking at business for the last few years and watching huge stores like the Disney store, going out of business after opening these superstores in the malls. And I started to come to the conclusion that we need to go where the customer is. We need to go back out into the neighborhoods on a smaller scale, and instead of trying to get everybody to come to us.
And providing personalized customer service.
Any comic shop employee who's really good at what they do and are really passionate about what they do, they're going to ask you the right kinds of questions. What kind of movies do you like? What kind of music do you like? What kind of television do you like? And then they'll find that book that works based on your personal interests. And there's literally something for everybody. Purchasing a book on a website, you're not going to get that tailor-made recommendation.
We listen to our customers. We try to stock based on what they're telling us they're enjoying.
Comic book stores are the backbone of the comic book industry. They do more for comics than any television, film, video game adaptation does, because that's how you keep coming back in when you get to know that comic shop employee or the comic shop owner. It's a really special relationship what you have out of your comic book store. So find the one that you feel fits you best.
Kamikaze's Liberty Station store has only been open a few months, and while not up to the sales of its Claremont Mesa store, it's definitely trending that way.
We signed a 5-year lease, so we plan on being here for quite a while, and I hope it turns into as much of a fun business as I thought it was going to be.
But at least Scott will have some toys to distract him at work. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Beth also tells us Kamikaze now has stores in Claremont and Liberty Station. Later this month, they'll host the release of a comic created at High Tech High. We may be in for a bit more rain this weekend. Look for 60s along the coast. A high surf warning will stay in effect through Sunday afternoon, along with coastal flooding advisory. The inland valleys will get a little time to dry out, then we could see showers again through Monday. There's a high wind warning until 10 tonight for San Diego's mountain areas. Daytime temperatures will be in the 40s and 50s. There's also a wind advisory for the desert tonight. Partly cloudy there tomorrow, then look for plenty of sunshine. Today's rain is one of our top stories tonight. California got a good soaking, but the KPBS drought tracker says our rainfall amount is at 22% of normal for this time of year. The storm also brought plenty of high surf. It was a pretty dramatic sight out at La Jolla Cove today. Lifeguards are warning people to be careful out on the beach, and the health department is reminding swimmers to stay out of the water because pollution that can flow into the ocean after a storm. The storm also brought a sad sight to Del Mar shores. A dead California gray whale washed up on the beach this morning. Officials are planning to truck the whale to a local landfill. FBI dive teams were back at a small lake in San Bernardino today. They're searching for evidence in last week's shooting that killed 14 people. The FBI says shooters had been in the area the day of the attack. Agents haven't officially said what they're looking for, but the Riverside Press Enterprise reports they're in search of a computer hard drive that may have been dumped into the lake. The paper says an object was pulled from the lake today and handed off to an official. The FBI is helping to investigate a fire at a mosque in Coachella today. It happens before today's regular Friday prayers. The leader of the mosque says witnesses believe it was intentionally set. They describe hearing a loud boom and then seeing flames in the lobby. The Islamic Center of Palm Springs is about 75 miles east of San Bernardino, and it's been targeted before. Last year, it was hit by gunfire. No one was hurt in either incident. You can find the latest news from San Diego and around the world on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend.